Hello again. One often hears that people are being arrested or even sent to prison for what are known as dirty words. This suggestion is invariably made in connection with posts on the internet, usually social media. Yesterday we saw a classic instance of this. The Daily Mail had a headline which read, Twitter user is jailed for 18 months for two anti-immigration tweets made after Christmas market car attack that were viewed just 33 times. I give a link to the article in the description to this video. We are plainly invited to think that this is an archetypal case of hurty words leading to a man being sent to prison. Just two posts on Twitter and they were only viewed a small number of times. And he made the post due to his horror at a massacre. And now he's been sent to prison for those anti-immigration posts. Terrible. Of course, this is not even remotely what has been going on here, and this particular game has been played so often that it is perhaps time to call a halt to it and examine what is really going on. The first thing we need to bear in mind is, of course, that there never has been a time in the recorded history of this country when urging the murder of some people and the destruction by fire of their homes would not land you in a lot of trouble. Indeed, there have been times when that kind of thing would have ended up in your being hanged. What the man who is the subject of that newspaper article actually said online was, and I quote, I think it's time for the British to gang together, hit the streets and start the slaughter. Violence and murder is the only way now. Start off burning every migrant hotel, then head off to MPs' houses and Parliament we need to take over by force. Now, this is not an anti-immigration tweet. It is rather an incitement to murder and to commit arson and possibly to overthrow the government violently. The law as it touches upon that kind of thing is no different when people are using the internet than it is if one were to publish a piece in a newspaper or make a speech in the street. There are not special rules for this where the internet is concerned. The law is the same as though one were addressing a crowd in the street. How was this kind of thing treated in the past, do you think, hundreds of years before the internet was invented? As it happens, we have a perfect example in the past of this very thing. It took place in the reign of King Henry VIII and became known as the Evil May Day. In London, there was great discontent at that time about the number of foreigners who had come to live in the city. Most were Flemish and a lot of them were weavers. It was claimed that these immigrant workers were taking jobs which should be given to English people, and many young apprentices were becoming angry. They were stirred up by the preaching of a man called Dr. Bell, who was urged on by another man called John Lincoln. Bell said that foreigners were taking all the jobs and eating the bread from poor fatherless children, and he called on Englishmen to cherish and defend themselves and to hurt and grieve aliens for the common weal. This culminated in rioting on May Day in 1517 when thousands of young men ran wild, attacking foreigners and looting their homes. The army restored order and some of the ringleaders were hanged. John Lincoln, who had done nothing except speak against what he said were foreigners who were taking all the jobs, was hanged, drawn and quartered for treason. And all just for making speeches. Outrageous. No doubt, had the internet been around in the early 16th century, there would have been those who claimed that the poor fellow had been executed for hurty words. The truth of the matter is that urging murder and the burning down of people's homes has always been against the law in this country, and the penalties used to be a lot more severe than just 18 months imprisonment. There never was a time when anybody could call for slaughter in the streets and arson of where people are living and not get into trouble for doing so. That such things are now being posted on Twitter or Facebook rather than being preached in the streets makes no difference at all. It has always been bound to get you arrested and at the very least sent to prison. Trying to trivialize such actions by calling them hurty words will not work, I'm afraid. If you do this kind of thing, it's bound to end badly.